Welcome to Chick Chat with Unapologetically Karen, the podcast for women by women. I'm Karen Webb, architect, author, entrepreneur, creative junkie, and your host. Chick Chat is your resource for building your big, bold, and beautiful feminine life. So join me for some eye-opening and jaw-dropping dialogue that has people talking. Welcome back to Chick Chat. Today's guest is Zahra Karsan. For 3 decades, Zahra has worked to understand human behavior, how to achieve optimal well-being and peak performance. The result is her proven roadmap to better health, wealth, and happiness. In her book, her best-selling book, 6 Weeks to Happy, Zahra provides a 6-week plan to retrain your brain and your nervous system back to balance, something we probably could all use, relieving stress and providing the tools you need for long-lasting inner peace and a more fulfilling life. Thank you for being here, Zahra. So nice to have you.
Thank you for having me, Karen. I appreciate it. It's lovely to be here.
It's really interesting. Your background is in a lot of different things. Tell us a little about your background and how it led you to this kind of a study.
Yeah, it's an interesting path. I think most people, when you ask them, how did you get here? How do you choose this career? Most people took a lot of twists and turns. Mine was certainly that way as well. So, it started many, many years ago, being born in South Africa during apartheid, which was a very, very challenging time, certainly as a person of color, to be, faced with difficult situations that your little tiny little brain is too immature to process, when you're dealing with segregation and humiliation and discrimination based on things and concepts you don't understand, like skin color, because children, they're not born to see any of that. They're just pure light and pure consciousness when we come into this world, and then all of this stuff gets piled on top. So it started there, and then we moved to Canada, and in the back of my mind, I was always just aware that there was this little story running in my background that said I'm not good enough because of my skin color, because of whatever else. And I thought to myself, when I became a young teenager, I thought, I don't want that to be my life story. That can't be it. I need to figure out how to shift this, because I thought I'd worked through it, and then at a certain point I realized, oh, it's still there. So I needed to figure out how to work through it. And I became really fascinated with human behavior and what the human journey was. And as a late teen, somebody once asked me, what makes you happy? And I thought, why is that question so difficult to answer? And I came to realize much later on, I went into management consulting, and I became an expert at successful delivery. I became an expert at, measuring the success and being able to deliver massive projects, 5 million to 50 million, working with top global executives, getting to work with them as trusted advisor. And it was a wonderful, wonderful role. And so much of it was psychology based. It's understanding how to manage people's expectations. It's understanding the, key negotiation and communication skills. It's learning the art of diplomacy. It's learning how to inspire people so that when everyone's piled on top with so much work on hand, how to get them to work on your project and make sure that it gets delivered on time. So you learn really about peak performance and how to build strong, cohesive teams and what that teamwork looks like. And as you go through that process, what you realize is you can't take the human being out of the workplace. You can't take the human factor out of the journey. You can't take the human being out of performance. So you can't just expect somebody to show up and give their best when they may be facing trouble at home. They may have a newborn child. They may be going through marital trouble. They may have health issues. They may be unhappy with their job, or, uncertain if the company had just gone through a merger and acquisition. So all of these factors really play into the things that cause us stress and that impact our overall performance and our overall ability to show up, be happy. The other piece of that is so many people are living a really uninspired life because they're just chasing goals. So, you come into this life and you're given instructions to do well in school. And beyond that, you're not really given any sort of roadmap or guideline for how to live life, how to be a happy and
Right.
successful adult, how to be successful at life. And so we're
That's
given
so
this.
true. And the moment you have a goal then too, and if you've achieved, it's constantly moving, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's for a forever kind of chase. Hmm.
Yeah, and so most people think like, okay, I'll get the job, I'll choose the career, I'll get the partner. Okay, I'm talking about conventional now. Let's not go into the unconventional. That's a much bigger, longer
Right,
session.
right. Of
Just
course.
in
Of course.
conventional terms, get the partner, get the house, get the dog, get the job, get the career, get the car, and your life will be set. And at some point, happiness will be there. And I think that's what a midlife crisis is, because most people don't really know themselves well enough. And so they start chasing goals thinking it's going to bring them happiness, safety, fulfillment, freedom, that financial freedom we all seek. And it doesn't. And so
Hmm.
what I came
Very
to
true.
realize in working with so I left consulting. I then opened a coaching practice and I started seeing these amazing transformations in my clients using the same techniques that I used on myself to figure out, how to be my happiest, most peaceful, most empowered self and to have this incredible life. If you see my view, it's all ocean. I'm based on the beach
Oh,
here.
nice.
It's everything, every single component I've ever dreamt of, I've been lucky enough to achieve. And so I wanted to teach people how to do that for themselves. And as I started coaching people, I have to get into their model of the world because I'm looking at somebody that looks really put together and, otherwise quite okay. And I'm wondering, how is it that they have not been able to achieve the life that they want, or what is
Mm,
missing for them? And so as a coach, it's
right.
my job to get into their little world and kind of see, where did they imagine like their world as a house. And so it's my job to get into their house and figure out, where did they construct their walls, so that I can figure out how to help them pull them down and actually open up their eyes to more possibility, whether that's in love or career or health or finance. And what I came to realize is, after I did that, we then work on goals. And when I had them envision them actually accomplishing those goals, very few people could actually tell me that they were more fulfilled or more satisfied or happier or feeling like they were more successful. And I thought, well, what's missing here? And I realized people don't really know themselves. They don't really have the tools to
Hmm.
figure out what lights them up. What are they passionate about? What are the things that excite them? What are the things that make them feel peaceful? What are the things that make them feel grounded? And we are all different. You and I cannot sit at a table and order the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We will not do the same workout. We will not choose the same career. So we're all unique. We all have our own little individual formula. So, my task then became, how do I put a roadmap together so people can figure out how to do this for themselves? And so what I realized is, there were really, three pieces missing. One is, you can't just give people the tools to go from stress to feeling successful, because that's just treating a symptom. You also have to look at, what's the underlying cause. So what's causing
Right,
most
right.
people stress and worry and anxiety from day to day? And then the second piece is, you need some tools to be able to retrain the brain and the central nervous system back to balance. And then the third piece is, you really need actionable tools to give people so that they can map out who they are, what are their needs that would make them
Hmm.
feel happy and peaceful and content and successful. Because for some people, it might be a grand vision of traveling by private jet. For other people, they would be happy in a caravan and, going off-roading. And so everyone's different. So
Right.
you need to design your life around who you are. Otherwise, how will you ever get to a place called happiness? And so
Right.
that's
Now,
the third.
did those people come to you seeking um, a goal? For example, wanting more success in their career or trying to figure out a new career path, or did they come to you because they just felt that kind of disenchantment with their life?
It's
What
both,
was their?
actually.
Did they know it was both? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, did they realize it's coming from a place of disenchantment and Or did they just say, I want to get to this next goal, help me get there as a coach?
Well, people aren't usually super clear on what their goal is. What they normally come in with, we work on it a little bit, we unravel things, and then we sort of streamline what they actually need. But usually it's some combination of, I've lost direction, I'm looking for spiritual guidance or life direction,
Mhm.
or I'm in a job that I hate, or I'm engaged and me and my partner are trying to figure out how to be together. So it can be relationship issues, it can be health and conflict related, it can be love and family related, it can be life direction related. But they just know that something is missing and they don't
Mhm.
have the tools to figure out how to solve for it.
I see. Okay. Yeah, and I think that sums up so many people, and I think, yeah, I think that there is a kind of, I don't know if it's sort of just an overall dissatisfaction. I think a lot of it stemmed or became really apparent after COVID. Everybody just was like sitting at home alone with their stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Now, and so tell us a little too, how you help people get from that place of stress and anxiety, like in the workplace, or maybe they're even an entrepreneur and they don't, it's not like you're going into a corporate job, but how do you
Mhm.
go from that to a sense of calm, and how does that help your productivity?
Well, the first two tools I use are, well, firstly, I developed a personality quiz called the Life Block Quiz, which really taps into when we talk about, finding the sources of your stress and worry and anxiety. It usually comes from a subconscious place. So, we evolved as animal beings. We evolved to be really good at survival, to be safe out in the wild. But now we live in these civil societies with big buildings and, private equity and venture capital and massive corporations. And we're just trying to have a beautiful life and build a family and, figure out a career. And so I think what had happened over time is I think our subconscious, so we are 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious. And we all
Wow.
think we're running with a full tank, but we're only running 5%. So I thought, what if we could tap into that 95% and give people the tools to access all of that stuff that's happening beneath the surface? How much more peaceful and powerful could we really be? And so part of that is figuring out what is the story that's running in the background that's keeping you playing safe in life? And it's either I'm
Okay.
not good enough, or I'm not deserving or worthy of love, or I'm not capable of success, wealth, abundance, financial freedom,
Mm.
or I'm alone in this world, or I'm not safe. Those are basically the five that have shown up in every single human being. Now we don't have all five. Some of us have just one or two, some a few more, but they're all playing within us. And it doesn't always sound like that. The I'm not good enough, we've all heard this. Another way to say that is imposter syndrome. So I've worked with a
Right.
lot of
Absolutely.
C-level executives and even actors, celebrities, entrepreneurs. Everyone talks about imposter syndrome. It's become like a major thing. And that all comes from a place of not feeling good enough or not feeling worthy of wealth and success. Those are the two that play out there. But the other ones, I'm not deserving of love, or I'm alone, or I'm not safe, they don't sound like that all the time. If you have a subconscious story running your background, that says I'm alone in this world, your ability then to get into a healthy relationship and be able to be vulnerable, be able to connect and depend on your partner is then diminished because you're thinking, oh, they're here, but they don't they don't really love me enough that I can depend on them. And so the story
Right.
usually sounds like, you know, I have to do everything for myself, or nobody can look after me in the ways that I really need, or they don't really understand. That's usually what it sounds like in relationship. In business, how that plays out is, imagine if you're starting a business and you're an entrepreneur, even if you're, working in a corporation, are you going to rely on your team to help you do the work? Or are you going to say the story, if I want something done right, I'm going to do it myself? Like,
Right.
we all know
Right.
somebody running that story. And so what
Oh
ends up
yeah.
happening, right?
Of
Especially when,
course, you're so right.
Moms are doing
Yeah.
2 full-time jobs, plus probably looking after their partners, so 3 full-time jobs. And,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you have this story running, I have to do it myself, it's exhausting. You become completely unraveled after a certain point because that's not sustainable. So you have to tap into the sources of your core stress and finding that story, the one that resonates with you, the one that runs your behaviors, the one that's responsible for your triggers and your reactions to those triggers is huge. Because what happens is when you discover this in the life block quiz is you're bringing what's in your subconscious into your conscious awareness. And once you're
I
aware
see.
of it,
Right.
you can't unsee it. So now you have some tools to say, oh, wait a minute, this is what's running right now. This is not the story. This is not actually what's happening in my life. An event happened. I don't need to run that story anymore. So that's the first step. And the other tool is I give people sort of a needs analysis where you look at your entire life wheel and try and figure out, you know, by the hour, how many hours of exercise do you need per day or per week to really feel your best? I don't mean to be, an amazing beach bot. I mean to feel strong, to have a ton of
Mm-hmm.
energy throughout the day, to not feel exhausted. You need to eat a certain nutritional diet. You need to get enough sleep and hydration and exercise so that you really just feel like you're running an optimal fuel. Then, what does your physical environment look like? If you're a person that likes cleanliness and order and you have clutter everywhere, it's going to be hard for you to think clearly. So even being responsible for your physical environment is important. How much time do you need in nature? Because if you're like me and you lived in a country like Canada where winter is really cold. I mean, there's some days
Yes.
where you have to breathe in slowly because the air is so cold. You'll cough if it hits your lungs before it's warmed up. And so in the winter months, I wasn't getting outside much. I wasn't getting much fresh air. I wasn't getting to be with nature. And every winter I would get depressed. And so that's not an
Right.
environment I could thrive in. And I had to leave. And I'm so much
Yeah.
happier
Yeah.
for it. And so one is a needs analysis. So you can map out every area of your life. What are the elements in your work? What are the elements in your social life? What are the elements in terms of soulfulness and purpose and giving back are important to you? What are the financial needs that you have? And then the other piece of that is values, mapping out your values. If you can even figure out what your top 5 values are, and that also actually comes out in the life block quiz, is your values are what's important to you. So if you value freedom, for example, and which is me. So when you take the life block quiz, you get representation of 3 to 5 of your top animal archetypes, and they are a way of describing your personality profile, your behaviors, your triggers, and these subconscious beliefs in a playful way. But it's incredibly enlightening because it gives you the tools to sort of see what aspects of your personality have developed in a healthy and an unhealthy way, and how you can include those values in your life more. So if you're, I'm a cheetah, which means I take action. I don't sit around. I never complain. If there's something not working in my life, I will figure it out. Um,
Interesting. And
I'm,
which are all of the different ones, by the way? So
so
there's the
I
cheetah.
can go through the
Hmm.
list. We can't get through all of them today, but if you're a stallion, for example, then you value freedom. And probably it came from an unconscious, a time or several events in your early life where you were left alone and maybe you didn't want to be alone. But then all of a sudden, that aloneness starts to feel comfortable for you. So you develop a sense of independence. You
I
develop an
see.
emotional resilience. You develop an ability to navigate through life. And then you actually come to enjoy that time alone and that freedom. So that's me. And so if you value freedom, going into an office for 20 years as a management consultant, I hated that. I hated having to drive into an office on
Right.
Friday
Right.
for so many years. I'm much happier living in a world where I get to have a virtual business because that satisfies my need for freedom. So
That makes
just
sense. Yes.
understanding what are the elements that are important to you and that make you feel your best, and then building your life and altering your career around that and communicating those needs with the people in your life so that you can all have your needs met are really, really important as well. And so what I did was I thought, well, how do I put this together in an easy to follow way? And so I created a methodology called the Rewire Mindset System, which is it's a 6-week plan where you learn 3 simple tools per week for 6 weeks. And it's step by step. In week 1, we go into the life block quiz and all of the unconscious beliefs, so the core sources of stress. We go into tools to quiet the mind and the central nervous system. And then in week 2, we go into, how do you manage your energy level? So if you're at a job and you're highly stressed and you're facing burnout, how do you manage for that and find your way back to happy and peaceful? Well, there are
Right,
steps and
right.
tools for you to do that. Then in week 3, we go into what is it you need? Like, who are you? So we go into needs and values a little more deeply. And then in the last 3 weeks, we go into the tools of, okay, so now you figured out how to quiet the mind. We've removed all of the noise in your life. Now let's figure out how to shift and change. And you don't have to change your job or your career. You might just need to make small changes, like maybe take on a special project that really gets you lit up, or
Right,
volunteer your
right.
time for a particular organizational project that might be of interest to you because the work that you're doing is task based and maybe you're more creative mind, or the opposite could be true. Maybe you're great at task based stuff but you've been signed up for a creative job and you really thrive on just getting things organized. So maybe take on a project either at home or at work that allows you to have that outlet fulfilled. So and then the last 2 weeks are, okay, now we've pulled down all of your walls, we've cleared away the noise, you've learned to quiet the mind. You know who you are now, you have a better sense of who you are, and you've had 4 weeks practice. What do you want next? Like, let's go bigger and just blow the vision open because, until you've pulled those walls down where you've set up impossibilities, you don't know what's out there and what's possible for you. And now all of a sudden you're living in a whole new world where you can design your life in a way where your needs are really being fulfilled and you're lit up and you're excited to get out of bed every day and you're feeling happy and you're feeling
Yes.
like you're thriving and your body's more energetic. And so you learn about the 4 body system and you learn these simple tools. And I promise you, it only takes 10 minutes a day because I'm the biggest skeptic. I need fast results and I needed to be backed by science. So you'll get all the science you want, all the tools of happiness and well-being that come from 30 years of my studies: neuroscience, positive psychology, the studies of the subconscious, studies of successful people. And I've just distilled it down into the easiest tool. So it's super, super simple to follow. But that's how I usually work with my clients is I kind of take them through this program and then we just blow open their life. And then we have goals that we know will actually lead to fulfillment and a happier, more successful life for them.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Let me ask you, so I did do your quiz, which I recommend other people do. And as we near the end of this, we'll share how you guys can get on there and do it as well. And I did like it because it's not like you had A, B, C, D choices. Each question just was like, it's this or this, it's like answer 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And so I ended up being, my animal was archetype was a dolphin. So what is that? When you hear that someone's a dolphin, what does that tell you?
Yeah, traits of a dolphin are you like harmony. You value peace, you value harmony, and you have a playful quality about you. So,
Hmm.
I can tell just from your personality that, you have a light, peaceful and jovial energy about you. And so you don't mind confrontation, you learn to deal with it, but you prefer when everyone is, in balance and everyone is getting
So
along. So
true.
you're the
So true.
peacemaker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's very true. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Yeah, it definitely resonated for me. It
Yeah.
did.
So, for example,
So,
if you're a dolphin, so what happens is, so there's 2 versions of the quiz. One is the free version, which gives you the first animal archetype. If you want the full picture, then do the full result. It's so worth it. It takes a little bit more time to read through all of your results, but then you get, your 2 or 3 archetypes, and you can really map out different aspects of your personality.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a dolphin and you have that playful need about you, it would be very difficult for you, for example, to be in a relationship with a really controlling person who is very rigid minded, and they just need
Mm-hmm.
everything just so, because you're much more open, much more flexible, much more playful in how you like to live your life. You like variety, you like to change things up, and you need that. And if you don't get
Mm-hmm.
that, you're going to be miserable and unhappy and dissatisfied with your life. And the thing about needs are, they are non-negotiable. So over time, if you're not having your needs met because you don't know yourself well enough, which is most people, what ends up happening is you start feeling irritated and cranky and dissatisfied with your life. But over time, that can really wreak havoc on your physical health, because then your physical body starts
Yes.
to act as an alarm bell, asking, begging for your attention. And so then you get chronic illness, you get injuries that that are resistant to healing. When I was discovering this whole path of the mind body connection, and the body showing up as an alarm system for what was not working well in my life, I kept injuring my back, and then my back would heal, and I would roll my ankle, then I would heal my ankle, I would get back to the gym, and then one of the two would go again. This went on for about 6 months, and I thought, okay, something's got to give here. Like, this is not just
Mm-hmm.
physical anymore. And so I sought out different tools. I went to go and see my chiropractor for my back, and she said, "Are you open to the idea that this might actually not be physical? Like, maybe it's a mental or emotional thing?" And I said, "Listen, I'm willing to try anything. I just want to
Right,
feel
right.
good. I want to be active again. And, yes, I'm open to trying everything." And I sought out a hypnotherapist on her advice, and that started my path down this whole set of training. Was, wow, there's so much we don't know about, how to live this life, how to heal our own bodies, what our bodies might be trying to tell us when things are not going well. And if people just had really simple tools to start a different dialogue and to start living, when we talk about the true self and the authentic self, it just means really knowing yourself and living in alignment with
Mm-hmm.
what makes you happy and who you are meant to be in this world. And if you have those tools, everything shifts.
Absolutely. No, that is so true. Yes. And I think, yeah, if you're in alignment with your intuition too, I think that's where our bodies start to talk to us, but sometimes we don't listen.
Yeah.
That's where we get that chronic illness, et cetera. I think you're right. It is an alarm going off. Um, so tell me now, I know you also work with corporations as
Mhm.
well. So, and is that to create like a wellness program for the corporation, for the individuals in there that are working
Yeah.
there? How does that work?
Well, I work in two levels. One is I do work with executives and leadership teams and give them the tools that they need to understand to be able to build cohesive teams and be able to, um, you know, get outside of their own fears and self-doubts. Because what most people don't understand is, you can deal with a C-level executive of a multi-million, multi-billion dollar company, and they're still dealing with imposter syndrome. Hard to believe it, but it's true.
Wow. Wow.
And
No,
so,
I can't, yeah, that's interesting. Wow. Hmm.
yeah. Now, when I'm dealing with them, we're not. It's almost coaching that's not. We'll call it non-coaching, but I'm sort of helping guide them to overcome the limitations without talking about the limitations, because they're not ready to hear about them, and they're not hiring me in that way. They're hiring me for strategy. But before I can actually help them successfully deliver a strategy, we need to unravel what's not working. And that's usually in
Right.
the coaching realm. And then the second piece is, I developed a program for corporate wellness to bring these tools to the corporate world. So we don't go so much into the personal stuff, but we do go into, the importance of looking after your mental and emotional health in the workplace, the importance of managing stress and how to do that, and also how to help organizations get the most out of their staff. And that all lines up again with values. What are people's natural strengths and talents, and are they using their resources in the right way to to get peak performance out of the individual, but also peak performance and innovation for the company. The funny thing
Right.
about studying, when I studied neuroscience, if you want to spark creativity and innovation, you actually need people to be relaxed and happy. So, to
That
force
is
more
so
work
true.
on them, right?
Yes.
Isn't it so funny? So, if you can
Yeah.
allow people to manage their stress better, the innovation in the business starts to skyrocket. And if you're allowing people to use their strengths and their talents in either task-based or creative endeavors, then you're using your staff in a much more empowering way for them and for the organization. So I help them do those,
And
both
what
of those.
would you say the top tips are then to reduce that anxiety? And what I mean too is, so for me, I know when I get that real high level of stress for whatever reason,
Mm.
um, my body does not feel right. And I'm sure it's the rush of cortisol that is happening, which is so not good for us. How do you mitigate that?
A very good thing to do is, well, you asked two questions, so let's talk about the
Hmm.
last one first, which is, if you're dealing with sort of high level stress or anxiety, the first thing you need to do is to understand that we have a sympathetic nervous system, and when you're in fight or flight mode and your adrenaline is running and your cortisol is releasing in the body, we need some very quick tools to be able to come back to
Yes.
balance. And if you can just wake up for 10 minutes a day, whether or not you believe in meditation, if you can just focus on feeling, close your eyes, sit in a comfortable position, and just focus on feeling peaceful and calm and relaxed.
Hmm.
Because I promise you, not a single person in the world will answer the question, how do you want to feel today, by saying, oh, I want to continue feeling really stressed and exhausted.
Yeah, that's not good. No.
It's how most of us wake up and start the day. We just go in autopilot. And so it's that subconscious running. If you wake up intentionally instead, and even if you have kids, wake up 10, 15 minutes earlier. Honestly, that's all it takes. And get your coffee, whatever your peaceful place is, go sit there in the house and just do some deep breathing. First of all, deep breathing actually triggers your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your calm and regulated nervous system. And so it's saying to your nervous system, it's okay, there's no stress here, everything is fine, you are safe, everything is good. So start with deep breathing. And then if you just focus on really feeling peaceful, you can imagine a moment. For some people, it's easiest to imagine that first moment when they get to vacation, wherever your happy
Yeah.
place is. If you're at the
Right.
beach,
Okay. Hmm.
yeah, if you're in the beach, imagine your toes in the sand and hearing the ocean waves for the first time. And just really be in that moment and feel that peacefulness wash over you. And just wait and be in that for as long as you can. If you can stay in that place and just tie together two or three different, like, peaceful, calming emotions, whether it's peaceful, loved, supported. Mine at the beginning were peaceful, calm, happy. And I just imagine moments where I was feeling those things. And what it does is it bathes your entire nervous system and brings it back to calm. Because the brain doesn't
Hmm.
know the difference between real and perceived. And so if you can just imagine that happy place, if it's the beach for you, imagine the beach. If it's the woods or the mountains, imagine yourself there. Birds chirping, hiking, hitting a mountain summit, whatever your happy place is, go to that peaceful place in your mind, do some deep breathing, and just start by 10 minutes per day. And then the second piece is setting your intentions for the day. So just imagine your day going as smoothly and effortlessly as you possibly can. I promise you, just doing that for 10 to 15 minutes a day is a game changer for your nervous system.
That's fantastic. Yeah. No, that definitely is true, especially if you can start the day off like that. That's nice
Hmm.
because otherwise you're already in that stressed out mode. One thing goes wrong and it just puts you right over that edge.
Yeah.
Right. So, how, if people want to reach out to you or get your book or work with you, you work with them individually as well. Tell me, how can they best do that?
Well, if you want to take the quiz, you can go to the lifeblockquiz.com. That'll take you to my website. You can also go to 6weekstohappy.com. That's the name of the book, 6 Weeks to Happy, because it's a 6-week plan. And there you'll
Yes.
find all of the resources, the quiz, how to work with us. We have a whole team of amazing coaches to work with, how to book a corporate wellness program for your organization. So it's all right there. We made it as easy as one, two, three.
Perfect. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This has been really enlightening. I love that you bring such a different approach to it, really. I mean, it's, yes, it is coaching, et cetera, but your background, um, knowing so much about the central nervous system, et cetera, and how our bodies react is really interesting. So thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.